August 26, 2015. There's breaking news coming in this morning from ENE News, and that's the site that we linked to on our new website, FukushimaRadiation.info. But it's saying Fukushima nuclear waste detected along Southern California coast. It's probably the largest smoking gun, guys, that we've had, and we have some proof of, as they've tried to hide this information. But highest levels seen anywhere in North America since the testing program began, 8.4 becquerels cubed of radioactive cesium measured near beach between LA and San Diego. Here's your locations, and I'm going to link to the article. All you have to do really is go to our website, click on ENE News. It will take you to all the latest information. That's why we put it on our flyers and door hangers. But it says the sample was taken just over a mile off the coast of Del Mar, California, located about 15 miles north of San Diego and 100 miles south of Los Angeles. The only other location, Woodhull, has reported detecting nuclear waste from Fukushima Daiichi along the shoreline of North America is in Euclid, Canada, about 1,200 miles to the north of Del Mar. At that time, it was 7.2 becquerels per cubic meter of cesium-134 and cesium-137 was measured in Euclid sample taken in February 2015. The Del Mar sample had 8.4 higher levels. That's because it's building up over time, and now the stronger doses are also arriving. It's been that long. If you go to the Woodhull website, and I will link to that, you can come to where they've overlaid on Google Earth the detection, the amounts, and you can click on the years. Notice the top right, and it starts in the far corner with 2013, comes up to 2015. If you take a look at most of these, you don't see, except for the two mentioned, this amount of radiation at all. It will show some cesium-137. We'll pull it up, and let's go to the locations in the area. Here, this one is the cesium-134 is below detection in that meter. Here it's below detection, but 137 is being picked up. You see that at 1.5. And here in this April 4th sample, again, it's not live because it has to be retrieved, sampled, then the information all gathered together. But it's reading here, you have a background of cesium-134 at 1.5, but the 137 is very high. See that at 6.9. That's telling you that it's been constantly high in this area since early spring. Again, I will link to this Woodhull site, guys. You can check this, go through it, look year to year. It's very interesting how you saw it move. Again, it's a shame that we don't have any input from Hawaii. I hope now this will bring enough attention to the world scientists that they will start monitoring around the entire Pacific Ocean. It's very important that they do that. They also need to start getting samples of the rainfall if we start having the large floods from an El Nino cycle that they're talking about. Could be a super El Nino this year, and the biospheric effects. Again, the strongest one is there, Southern California, guys. That's not very far offshore. If it's a mile offshore, you know it's washing into the beach, don't you? But guys, it's time to be very aware of that. Now you've got positive proof. When people say it's not there, it is there. Where does it come from? The non-radioactive cesium occurs naturally in various minerals, but radioactive cesium-137, that's what they're measuring, is produced when uranium and plutonium absorb neutrons and undergo fission. The uses of this are nuclear reactors and nuclear weapons. What are the properties? They say it's a soft, malleable, silvery white metal. Cesium is one of only 3 metals that is a liquid near room temperature at 83 degrees Fahrenheit. The half-life of 137 is 30 years. It decays by emissions of a beta particle and gamma rays to barium-137. 30 years half-life. These particles in your body. It's one of the most common radioisotopes used in industry. Thousands of devices use it. Moisture density gauges, leveling gauges, thickness gauges, well logging devices. Guys, and sometimes these things get disposed of and people are exposed. But it says, how do you come in contact with it? Everyone is exposed to very small amounts of cesium-137 in soil and water as a result of atmospheric fallout. But remember, where does radioactive cesium-137 come from? How would it be in the atmosphere? From over 2,000 or 3,000 nuclear tests. That's how. In the northern hemisphere, the average annual dose from exposure to 137 associated with fallout is less than 1 milligram. This dose continues to diminish every year as cesium-137 decays. People may also be exposed from contaminated sites. Walking on cesium-137 contaminated soil. It's a mile off the beach, guys. And that tells you it washes ashore daily. But it says walking on cesium-137 contaminated soil could result in external exposure to gamma radiation. Leaving the contaminated area would prevent additional exposure. It says coming in contact with waste materials at contaminated sites could also result in external exposure to gamma radiation. Leaving the area would also end the exposure. Unless you've done this. If cesium-137 contaminated soil becomes airborne as dust, breathing the dust would result in internal exposure because the radiation emitting material is then in the body. Leaving the site would not end the exposure. Drinking cesium-137 contaminated water would also place it inside the body, where it would expose the living tissue to gamma and beta radiation. They also use this in cancer treatment. The radiation, the same radiation. Now, one other update. Don't forget, we got a blog talk show coming up probably as this video loads at 11 a.m. Central. We're going to talk about this. But in Idaho, a man hiking through a national forest in Idaho suffered severe burns, and his 2 dogs were scalded to death when both plunged into a hot spring, and he jumped in and then tried to save his pets. They had to medevac this guy out. Luckily, some park workers were nearby and got a hold of him and called in the helicopter. It burned him up pretty good. The hiker was not publicly identified, was walking out through the mountains with his dog last Thursday when both pets leaped into the water. He tried to save them, he couldn't, and he was hurt badly. But this is a very popular area, and it's Panther Creek. That's what they're calling it. It's never happened in the 170-year history, as long as they've gone back, which spans 4.3 million acres. Guys, this area is over part of the giant magma dome that's part of the Yellowstone system. And like I said, if it was the firefighting crew hadn't have been in there, this guy probably would not have lived. But it's a subject of travel guides, and it's widely dispersed across the northern Rockies and other where volcanic activity and geothermal features are intertwined. Notice the map at the top of this diagram. Notice at the top left corner, you've got Idaho there, and that magma chamber they have discovered has moved in that area. But notice that you've got Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming on this map, guys. This upper chamber, 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. Again, there's your movement, moving further south into Idaho. It goes down and it gets deeper and deeper, and it's actually fed from heat from the core of the planet. But notice the next chamber is 3,500 degrees. And also, you can look at the different calderas as they've got them marked here, from Yellowstone down to the Peekaboo Caldera, Twin Falls, Bruno Jarbidge, all the way down McDermott Caldera on the bottom, moving across the same state lines that we're talking about. See that? All the way across Idaho, easily, cutting it across. Then it's actually fed from heat that's further down. They call them hot pockets. I guess that's where the snack gets its name, guys. Right below that, you've got all of these areas, and then that's fed again from heat, even at greater temperatures. Now, when you have earthquakes and movement and geothermal shifts, more and more this can fill up and move to the surface, and that's what they're talking about in this diagram. You see a magma pocket right at the surface, but it comes from the center of the planet. In Yellowstone, that's the general area of it there, going up almost to the northern parts of the state. But when you back it out, again, Montana, Idaho, and notice that that map of the calderas went all the way across Idaho, the entire area. And that, again, this goes through the Rocky Mountains, but this is the largest spot on the planet that they know of. And you can almost see the ground shifts in that area, especially to the right of where Yellowstone is showing on this map. Again, it's an update we're going to talk about on the radio show coming up. Probably is after the video loads. We're going to start at 11 a.m. Central Time. Heads up, be safe.